everybody. Happy Sunday, February the 5th. February 5th. Man, flying by. Flying by. We're going to be on the water before we know it. I'm waiting for the video. Oh, God, I'm going to start off the night like that. The video. Beautiful. Waiting for the video to pop up. There we go. Now I can make some adjustments. That's better. There. Cool. How's everybody doing? Good to see you. We got a few dozen people on. We normally will we'll normally jump up to 100 or 200 sometimes. So we'll give a little time here for everybody to get on and say hi. Let me take care of my chat. I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I got my computer running right here, so it gives me the option and the availability to read all the chat. So I got to get that popped out. What we got going on? Let's see who's here. All sorts of people. Scott Hens, John Levitt, Rich Peters, Luke Gehring, Adam London, Army member. Adam, thanks for being part of the Army. Oh, Jason C., another Army member. Jim Dabrowski, another Army member. Thanks, guys. Pack Rat Lures is on here, throwing me some thumbs up. Thumbs up? Thumbs up or thumbs ups? Thumbs up. Thanks, Pack Rat. Appreciate that. Thanks for the thumbs up. It does help the channel. I always say that, and it's true. It does help the channel. Steve Steele, Jeff Abram, Troy Allen Outdoors. Troy Allen Outdoors. You always outdoors, man? Just messing with you. Ken Brescia, Steve Eddy, more thumbs up. Appreciate that. Fishhawk, another Army member. Good to see you. Guys, gals, if you want to join the Army, just jump in the description. The link is right there. We'd love to have you part of it. So, let me start right there by saying this. I'm really enjoying the Discord. And if you're a Tangle Tackle Army member, or if you come on for Patreon supporting us there, both have great perks. I'm not going to go into great depth on this, but Tangle Tackle Army on YouTube or Patreon supporter, both have ways to get you on that Discord discussion. I'm having a blast with that. We've got quite a few people on there on the Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, it's just basically a forum section where we can all go on privately and talk about anything we want to talk about. We can talk about fishing. We talk about people are posting, boat pictures, fish pictures. We talk about gear mods. We talk about fishing reports, all sorts of stuff. It's cool. It's a ton of fun too. So it's a great way to stay connected with a bunch of really, really good people. And I'm on there daily. Usually several times a day I pop on. I just check to see if anything's going on, answer questions, and you can shoot each other like private messages, things like that. It's a great way for me to get on there and not only be able to hopefully help a few people, but also learn a few things myself, which is really, really cool. Pat Enos saying, good evening, you retired young man. I am officially retired from my day job. Less than a week retired. Loving it. And that's not charter fishing, Captain. Charter fishing is now my full-time job. So thank you very much. A lot of people have been walking up to me just saying happy retirement. People I don't even know, and it's really nice. So it's really cool. People are really good. The majority of people out there are really good. Not everybody, but the majority. Scott Argetsinger's on here. Scott, good to see you. If you have any questions for DREAMWEAVER, Scott is a wealth of knowledge and a great fisherman himself. He is also a moderator on this channel. Please reach out to him. That reminds me to say all of these live streams are proudly brought to you by DreamWeaver Lures. Check them out at dreamweaverlures.com. Link is down below. You want the best stuff on the water for catching salmon, don't look any further. DreamWeaver is the way to go. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but day in, day out, the majority of stuff that I'm running is all DW. All right. Wendy Mead is here. Good to see you. Fishhawk is here. Ryan Purchase is here in Dallas, Fort Worth. How's the weather out there in Dallas, Fort Worth, man? Rooter Plumbing, good to see you. Cool. Oh, reminds me. I got my super chat reel. I've been going without this for several weeks, and I don't know why. I thought for a second there was a little blurry. Maybe it's a little blurry. Maybe I should clean that lens, but it's not too bad. Got the super chat reel. If anybody super chats, you get to hear the reel go off. So that is up and ready also. Let's see what else we want to talk about before we get into tonight's topic is how I became a Great Lakes charter captain. And it seems like most charter captains' paths are different in some ways. A lot of similarities, but everybody's path is a little different. So we're going to talk about myself. You know, how I got into it, really, from my youth on, and I'll let you know how I got my charter license and what I think of it, and maybe give you guys a few ideas if you want to go out there and get your own license as well. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't regret it 1 minute. Not 1 minute. Love it. Absolutely love it. And don't forget to take the poll tonight. The poll question is, I'm always looking for new ideas for the channel. You know, I always say this channel is all about you, not me. You guys and gals own this channel as much as I do, if not more. So I'm always looking for ideas. Tonight's poll question is, you got 4 options. What other topics would you like covered on this channel? Option number 1, lure selection. Number 2, how to find a starting location. That is way out in front with 58%. I get that question often. I'm not surprised that one's out front. Number 3, equipment and boat maintenance. And then number 4 is other. And whatever the other is, please put it in the chat. I always go back at the end of these videos. I go back and I read all the chat from top to bottom. So if it's in there, and if I miss it during the video, and I know I'm missing quite a few right now, but if I always go back and I always reread them. So please, if you got something you want to talk about, or me talk about, or another charter captain or whatever, put it in there. I'd like to see it rather. Jeff Cummings, good to see you. Eric Nearing, Husky Troller, Bill Gerlach, Dan Canham, good to see you. Howdy back to you, man. Jeff Cummings, all Army members, man. Great to see the Army members on here. Ryan Purchase as well. Cool. Thin Blue Line Fishing LLC, Lake Michigan Charter. That's a long name, brother. Thanks for the thumbs up, though. Jay Fogarty, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Jay, you got a trip this coming summer. I'm looking forward to it, man. All right. Tom Hurley, do we have dive bomb weights in the store? I don't think there are any there. I don't recall ever seeing any, so I don't think so. I used to use dive bombs. I don't much anymore. And now I just I seem to have 3 or 4 rods of every size, shape, and length. So yeah, I don't use them much anymore, but I used to use them all the time. All the time. You know, take a 5 color, turn it into like an 8 or a 9 color with those bigger dive bombs, and you didn't have so much to reel in. Of course, I was running, you know, this is way back in the day. I was running Penn 209s, which are just torturous. They're bulletproof reels, but man, 1-to-1 gear ratio, you're cranking on that thing all day long trying to get that fish in. Well, Ryan Purchase saying 80s down there in Central Texas. Had a day off, had a good day off. Yeah, you're coming out with me also in July. Yeah, looking forward to that as well. Eric N. would like to hear about inline boards versus mast. I've run both. That'd be a good topic. I like that. Joe Wildbaum, I'd like to know my take on 5 and 7 colors on boards. My take on it is they're great. I run all my long lines on boards. 5 and 7 colors are hot producers all year long. So yeah, I run them on my Ninja boards daily. There's very rarely a day there's not a 5 or a 7 color out there on a board. So yeah, always good. I'm trying to think what else I needed to talk about before we got into the topic. So our microwave, I don't know how I get on these off topics, but I do. Our microwave took a dump a couple days ago. So I'm drinking lukewarm tea here. I had to get my tap water up to as hot as it could go. We have a new microwave ordered. It's actually like a convection slash air fryer slash microwave thing. My wife found it. It looks great. You could cook a whole turkey in the thing, I guess. But I got my tap water as hot as I could get it, and put my tea bag in there, and it's like, yeah, it's so-so. Huh. Nature of Minnesota says the sign in the background says wear your safety glasses near protection. Yeah, maybe I should put my Ear and Eye Pro on there. Yeah, maybe I should. Sometimes some of these chats I should wear Ear and Eye Pro. Jeff Cummings, Chris or Scott, do you run a 7 or 9 color lead core? I don't run any 9s. I run 7s all the time, Jeff. All the time. I'll leave the mast versus planar inline planar board discussion for another night. That's a great idea for a whole topic, and I would love to. I know my wife's on here. I know I can heat water on the stove. I'm just too lazy. But there's a whole lot of ins and outs on masts versus inline boards, and both work well, and both have their own application, at least in my opinion. So we'll do that another time. Yeah, I know. I know everybody's gonna throw in there right now that stoves can heat water. I was just too lazy and just didn't want to do it. Just to be completely honest and transparent. All right. Okay, so let's jump. Well, you know what? Fishing report. Let's talk about that real quick. I got on the ice finally last week. We got enough ice out there on Portage Lake. I jumped out there. Of course, the windiest day I could possibly pick. I picked it, and I took myself out there, my happy little butt out there, with my little one-man portable. I love my little ice shelter. I tell you what, it's a Clam Dave Gens insulated Kenai Pro thermal. Love that thing. Lots of room, lots of space, but light, super light. So I got my my happy little butt out there in the middle of the lake. Got all set up. Didn't have any ice anchors with me. Threw that clam up over me, turned the heater on, drilled a couple holes, threw the clam up over me and started fishing. And it was all I could do to keep myself from ending up in Wisconsin. Or I guess it'd be more apt to be Ohio because the wind was blowing straight out of the north. I was not having a blast, I'll tell you that right now. But I did catch a half dozen fish or so, just all dink perch. There's a lot of good fish out there. I'm going to get back out there either tomorrow or Tuesday. I know Portage Lake just got hit hard this weekend. There was a ton of people out there. So I'm going to try to get back out there. I might wait for Tuesday, let the lake settle down a little. But there's good perch out there. So I was having a blast. I haven't fished with a Vexilar in so long. I forgot how much fun fishing with electronics on the ice is. It's like a video game. Just watch those fish come up off the bottom. You flutter that. I was using all Northland buckshots, and I didn't use any macho minnows. There wasn't any walleye around, so it was all buckshots with red spikes and wigglers, and just fluttering that thing down, stopping it 2 feet, 1.5 feet off the bottom. You see one of those fish come up off the bottom, you flutter it down to them, and then just rise it up slightly, let them chase. It's like a video game. It's so much fun. I cannot wait to get back out there in a couple days and get back after it. Really a good time. So I was going to try to do some video that day, but like I said, it was all I could do to keep my butt planted on the ice. So I did not get, and I sure as heck wasn't going to fly a drone because that would have been gone. Anyway, we'll get back on the ice here in a couple of days. But Portage Lake, like I said, it's got at least 6 to 8 inches of good ice right in front of the launch. Some warm weather coming, so just be mindful of that. There's going to be some weak spots. There's going to be some honeycombing, I'm sure, if we get some rain. Manistee Lake is still sketchy at best. There's been a few people out there, but man, be careful out there. Be really careful. Bear Lake's got good ice. I haven't heard of anything really good coming out of the ice around there. Bear Lake is about the only lake around here that has a really decent crappie population. And there's a little spot out there, like almost right off of the Blarney Castle. And it's just a little tiny spot. If you know it and you know where to go, you can catch crappie there pretty well. But they don't bite all season long. So you got to be out there also in the right time. Right place, right time. Anyway, river fishing has been, it's been all jigs. It's been, I can't say all jigs. Been a lot of jigs with waxworms for the fish that have been coming. Some guys, I did talk to one guy that was bank fishing the other day, and he was running all beads, single beads, all natural yellows, and he was doing pretty good on them. But that cold spell that we had, of course, slowed him down. But we got that warm spell coming up here next couple 3 days, and I imagine the fishing could get pretty good out there. All right, Chris Olson, good to see you, man. Scott, always good to see you. Also, Scott Erg Singer's on here, throwing some answers to questions around. I really appreciate that, Scott. Scott, feel free to jump in on this topic as well. I'm going to talk about right now how I became a charter captain here on Lake Michigan. I've been asked this a few times, and something I just haven't really talked about much. Kind of glanced over it a few times, but never really gotten to the meat and potatoes of it. So let's do that. And like I said, if you have more questions, feel free to ask them up, but wait till after the discussion. I'm happy to answer anything. Scott can answer anything as well, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people there that maybe also can answer a few things. So I didn't grow up on Lake Michigan. I'll start right there. I grew up where salmon don't live, except they occasionally come that far up in the rivers. So I grew up chasing bluegill, pike. My earliest memory of fishing goes all the way back to I was probably 3 or 4 years old, 5 years old, standing on the bank of a lake that my grandparents lived on. My mom took me there. I had a cane pole, had a can of worms. I remember my mom putting the worms on the hooks for me when I didn't know how, and throwing that cane pole out there with a bobber. And I was just fascinated when the bobber would go underneath the water, and I'd pull in a fish, bluegill or sunfish or whatever they might, perch, a few perch, every now and then an occasional bass. But I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. Loved to fish. So as I got older and older, we'd take Memorial Day trips up to Mount Pleasant, fish Lake Isabella, the rivers, fish that for bass. I love doing that. We did that every year. Some of my favorite memories of fishing were doing that with all my stepbrothers and my stepdad, going back in the rivers, just pulling in nice bass out of there. But anyway, always loved to fish. As I got older, my late 20s, I got a job here in Manistee. Had never been to Manistee before, never been, but I knew I was going to like it when I saw it on a map, and I saw it was completely surrounded by, or not completely surrounded, but one side of Manistee was all water and all the hunting and fishing opportunities around here. I knew I was going to like it. I rented a house right on the Manistee River, right at Riverside Marina, owned by Paul and Amy Schlafly that run Riverside Charters. Best darn charter captain, in my opinion, period, anywhere. The guy is a legend around here. There's a few other that can rival him, but Paul is great. Ended up speaking with Paul. I'd see the boats come into the marina in the springtime. I'm looking at these beautiful giant white boats, and I'm thinking, my God, who could afford a boat like that just to go fishing? And but you really got my heart pumping on what is the salmon fishing thing all about. Really got me interested in it. So talking with Paul, talking with some of the other captains there at that marina, really got my interest even more and more piqued. Then my buddy, a good friend of mine that I work with, he took me out on his boat. And salmon fishing for the first time on Lake Michigan. And I thought I was hooked before. I was completely hooked. Fell in love with it. The first time I had a king on the end of the line, and I could not believe the strength and the power of that fish, I knew I was done. I might as well just take a whole pile of money right then and just set it on fire, because that's how much money I was going to throw at this thing over the years. But if you love it, you're going to do it. So, yeah, everybody, Paul is a legend. Absolutely. So anyway, as time goes on, this is way back in the early 2000s. I came up here to Manistee in 1999. So in the early 2000s, I started fishing with my buddies, like I said, on their boats. Got my own boat, a nice small. Started off with a Great Lakes, what was that? A Sea Nymph Great Lakes Special 16-footer. And really, the only thing special about it was that it would occasionally get me back to the dock without breaking down. Ran that thing for quite a few years. Ended up getting a nice 18-foot Lund Fisherman, a nice deep Lund. Rigged that all up for salmon. Chased salmon almost every day I had off. Some days I was working. I'd go out in the morning if I was working in the afternoon. Just absolutely in love with it. Took everybody I could go out there. Wanted to learn as much about it as I possibly could. And I was really blessed. I was blessed because I had resources that I could go to. I could go to Paul, or I could go to other charter captains. I could ask them questions, and I knew I was probably that annoying guy, what lure should I be running here? What speed should I be doing this? But they were always so patient with me, and always so generous with their knowledge. So I was truly blessed. So I really started learning a lot that way. Took a few trips with Paul as well, and I highly recommend that. If you really want to learn some good salmon techniques, book a charter. And I'm not saying with me, book one with somebody that you trust. But make sure you book one with somebody that's going to answer questions. There's some captains out there that they won't answer questions. There's some captains out there they won't even talk to their customers. They let the first mate do all that. So make sure you pick the right one. But that's a great technique to get your feet really, really wet, is to go book a charter, ask questions, watch what happens. I even let people take pictures or video of my gear and my techniques. I don't mind. I don't mind at all. But that's a great way. So, going out with Paul a few times and talking to those guys, going to the bait shops, going to the fish cleaning station, the more I just wanted all this knowledge, the more I could get, the happier I was. I probably drove my wife nuts. I apologize, hon. She knows when I get into something, I'm like hardcore at it. I want to learn. I want to improve. So that really got me into the salmon fishing thing, and I knew I was getting better at it year after year after year. I was getting good catches of fish. I was getting good fish. I was taking friends out, catching them fish. Then my good friend Jim and I, his name's not Jim and I, my friend Jim and I, we were out fishing one day on his boat, on his 26-foot striper, and we're just having a blast. Jim's a great fisherman. I'm sure many of you have seen him on this channel before. He and I used to do videos together. We really started this channel together. He doesn't make many videos anymore. He's got like 20 kids. Honestly, I think he has 5. I know he's super busy too, and he works a ton of hours. So, Jim, if you're watching this, hey man, love you. You're a great guy. I wish I could do more with you. I hope we can get out this summer. But Jim and I were out fishing one day, and on his boat with a couple other people, and we just started talking about tournaments. Do we think we could compete in these tournaments? We're fishing well on our own boats. We're running good programs. Can we get into these things? So we did. We started getting into tournaments. We started doing well in tournaments. Several top tens, a few wins. Made some money. Made some nice prizes. Just had a blast. And the more we did that, and then I started first mating on other boats as well. And the more I mated, the more I learned new techniques. Every boat I would go on, I would mate on, I would try to grab something in my brain that I could take back home with me to use on my own boat. Even morph it a little, make it mine. You understand what I mean? Put my own signature on it. So I would try to gather as much information as I can on all these trips that I did. And after a while, I knew my retirement was coming up. I'm 53 years old now, so I'm still somewhat young. I guess it depends on how you look at it. Hey, Leroy Dowding's on here. Good to see you, Leroy. I knew that I wanted to try to charter once I was fully retired, but the way things were going, my wife and I talked, and a lot of things she was saying was making a lot of sense, and the ideas that we were coming up with, I decided 4 years ago now to just jump into it. Bought a boat, got my captain's license. I'm going to tell you how I got my captain's license here in just a second. I'll give you all that information, because I know that's probably why most of you are watching this. How'd you get your darn license? You shut up, dude. Just tell me how to get the license. I'll tell you here in just a second. But got a boat from a good friend, somebody I trusted. Highly recommend. If you're going to buy a boat, buy it from somebody you trust, and get a survey. Always get a survey. But I ended up getting a great boat. Ended up getting on board with a lot of great companies like DREAMWEAVER, Big John, Costa, somebody, big one, Cut Bait, Moonshine, you name it. I got it, Grundens, I got it in Okuma, got in with all these great companies. And of course the social media helps, but they all know I try to work as hard as I can for them to support their products. But getting those sponsorships and those partnerships really also helped bringing that whole charter thing together. If you want to get, let me go off on a little left field here. If you're looking to get a pro staff gig, and I know many of you are, to say you're pro staff, I mean, guys, don't ever put me on any kind of pedestal. Don't ever do that. Just because I'm pro staff for quite a few companies, don't ever. I'm no better than any of you out there. Any one of you can do anything I've done, and probably many of you could do it better. Don't ever think that I'm something way above you guys. I'm not. Trust me on that. Anybody can do that. If you're looking to get on pro staff, it's not like the old days. The old days, all it took was a big boat, a sticker on the side of it, and run their gear, and occasionally talk about it. That doesn't cut it anymore. You gotta work, and you gotta work pretty hard too. Every pro staff gig I got was, well, not everyone, but most of them were all out of cold calls, calling a company or emailing a company. Hey, this is what I can offer you. This is what I can do for your company. That's what they're looking for. People don't care anymore about you just slapping a sticker on the side of your boat, a decal on your shirt, and you go out there and you're a pro staff for such and such. It doesn't cut it anymore. Got to put the time in. You got to put the work in. Okay. Social media is what they all want. So be prepared. Be prepared to really grind it on social media. Okay. But anyway, the sponsorships, like I was saying, really help bring the whole thing together. YouTube really helped bring the whole thing together. So thank you to all of you out there as well. A lot of my customers come right here from this channel, and I really appreciate it as well. So all that seemed to gel really well for me. Coming into my 4th year now running my own charter. My August is already completely booked up. Half my July is booked up. And I'm booking up almost daily in the other areas. If you're looking to get a trip, I'm telling you, I always say this, it's not a business tactic. If you want to get a trip with a good boat, and I'm not saying I'm a great boat, but if you want to get a trip with a good boat, call early, even a year in advance. Because if you call me and you say you want to go out in August, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say no. It's been booked since, my August has been booked since last October. So call early. Call early. Anyway, let me tell you how I got my license, okay? Because that's where a lot of the questions are going to come from. How do you get your captain's license? What is a captain's license? So on the Great Lakes, you got to have at least an OUPV, or it's also called a 6-pack. Most everybody calls it a 6-pack. What that means is you can go out there commercially for hire for up to 6 passengers. You can also get your master's license, which broadens the realm of what you can do on the Great Lakes. But really, for all purposes, the 6-pack license is going to do you just fine. All right, I went through Mariner's Learning System, and I'm pointing this way because I have it on my computer screen right now. There's a link down below in this to Mariner's Learning System. I highly recommend it. If you, and there's some people out there that can't do this, and I get that. If you can study and learn online, out of a classroom, away from other people, this is the way to go. If you're uncomfortable with that, there's classes out there that you can take. Some are 5-day classes right in a row, all 5 days. Some are every 2 days a week, every weekend for like 4 weekends. There's other options to do that, but Mariner's Learning System online was the deal for me. So I'm looking at the website right now. I think I got mine for like $400 with the whole course. But right now it's $495. But here's the thing: if you have a buddy, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever, and you're both thinking about getting a captain's license, if you buy 2 or more packages, you get 50% off one of the packages. So it would be smart to split those costs. Get 2 people going after a license, split the cost. You're going to save money that way. You can also get towing endorsements. You can get deluxe. There's all sorts of things on here. But $495, they're going to send you a stack of books about that tall. It's going to be all manuals. It's going to be online teaching, though, and that's where I did all of my stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. Here's the truth. I barely opened a book. They sent me that stack of books. I barely opened a book. I went through and I did all their online courses. Just watched the videos, went through the bullet points, and after each course, there was a test at the end. And you're not gonna do great on that test to begin with. But I would take every test over and over and over until I got 100% every time. I'd move on to the next module, and I would do the same thing. Do the online, take the test over and over until I got 100%. Then I would go back and take the other test, and I would keep bouncing forward until I got to the end where I could go back and I could take any test that I wanted, and I knew I'd miss very, very few. I just had it all racked into my brain. Now, if you took every one of those books and you opened it up and you highlighted every single section, there's so much stuff in those things, and it's going to cloud up your brain. Don't get me wrong, many of those things are very, very important, but the most important things in those are the ones that they highlight on that test, like rules of the road. Some important stuff to know in there. Who has the right of way? What is the color of that buoy mean? who is the stand-on vessel, overtaking, all those things, very important. But the testing at the end really drives that into you, really drives it home. So I had my course, my Mariners Learning System course, did everything online, had the whole course done in 5 weeks. All the online testing, everything, 5 weeks done. Made an appointment for my final exam. Back then, you had to do a final exam through a Mariners Learning System proctor in person. I think they've changed that now. You can even do the final exam online now. But I did mine in person, and I prepared for it. I'm telling you the exact same way I just described it to you. Just kept binge doing those tests over and over and over. Went and took the final exam, and I scored I scored perfect on 2 of the 3 modules, and I think I missed 1 question on 1. No, I take that back. The second module, I missed like 7 questions, but you can miss like 20. There were some things on there I was just like, what the heck? But did absolutely fine. Passed everything, no problem. Now you get into the meat and potatoes, just because I see this on Facebook all the time. Somebody goes and takes a captain's course, and they get that certificate at the end, says captain so and so. You're not a captain yet. Don't. And I'm not making fun of you. Just don't think that you can go do that. You get that certificate from, say, Mariners Learning System. Go, I'm a captain. I'm going to go run a trip. The Coast Guard is going to have you by the short hairs. There's many things you got to do after that to get prepared. One is sea experience. You got to have time on the water on certain class boats, navigating, running the boat, operation, all those things. You have to have so many hours for that sea time. If you don't have that, you're not going to qualify for your captain's license. So if you're thinking about getting one, start racking up your sea time right now and documenting it. Make sure the captain of that boat is willing to put his name on a piece of paper saying that he verifies that you did such and such on this boat. Okay. The other things you have to have. You got to have a TWIC card, a TWIC card, the transportation card. That's something that's come about in the last, 5, 6, 7 years, I think. But the TWIC card is a must now. Not hard to get. Got to be 18 years old. You got to pass a physical examination by a doctor. No, you can't do it yourself. You can't do a self-physical exam. Yeah, I'm good. Got to have a physical exam by a doctor. I'm reading this right off the website. You have to pass a DOT drug test, and once you do have a captain's license, you have to be enrolled in a random drug screening, which means at any given time, the Michigan Charter Boat Association, which I'm a part of, they do random drug screenings. They could call me, and this just happened to me last year. They could call me and say, hey, you're up. Head on in. Go take a drug screening. And you have to be available to do that at any time. So you have to be, like I said, registered and enrolled in that. You have to have a CPR first aid training course. And you have to have, I'm going to say this about that. I went through the AHA, the American Heart Association, for my first aid training on this. It was a pain in the butt because the Coast Guard is extremely picky on which courses qualify for their captain's qualification. So I had to, after I took my AHA course, even though it met all the requirements, the code was wrong. Just a simple coding error, and the Coast Guard kicked it back to me several times, until I finally got a hold of somebody from AHA. We figured out what the right code was. The Coast Guard finally accepted it. It was a pain in the butt. The Red Cross, I would recommend over AHA. AHA did a great job, but the Red Cross seems to be more aware and a little easier to get your qualification done for that. So for CPR first aid, you got to have that certificate. You have to have the completion of the Mariners Learning System or applicable other system that whatever you took, and you have to complete the U.S. Coast Guard original application package, which is several pages of things. That was a pain also because they will kick it back on any little error. I know one guy, he submitted it, and because of like a spelling error or something similar to that, they kicked it back on him. And every time they kick it back, it's going to take you another 3 to 4 weeks to reapply and get that thing circulated back through. So when you do complete your application package, make sure you double check it and triple check it because they will boot it back. So there you go. training, Mariner's Learning System, or something else applicable. Your TWIC card, 18 years old, pass a physical, drug testing, CPR first aid, you're good to go. You can get your license that way. Do I? I don't have any regrets. I have zero regrets. I really am glad that I went out and I got it when I did. I enjoy my time on the water. Every day I wake up to go fishing, I get excited still. There's nights still. Even if I just ran like 5 days and a couple doubles in that 5 days and I'm exhausted, there's still nights that I can't sleep because I'm thinking about fishing the next morning. I'm excited to get out there. Ryan Purchase, yeah, you can check with the volunteer fire department. That's exactly the way that I did it. But a lot of those volunteer fire departments make sure that they're doing something that the Coast Guard recognizes. There's only certain ones the Coast Guards are going to recognize. So make sure that's the kicker right there. You got to make sure that it's recognized. The physicals, no joke. John Levitt is saying, yeah. They poke and prod you a little. Are you breathing? Do you have a heartbeat? but they do make sure that you are up to the task. All right. What else do I want to say on this? I'm being completely sincere when I say anybody out there can do this. Whether or not you can have a successful charter business, I don't know. That's up to you. That's up to you and how much work you put in. If you have the patience to be a charter captain, being a charter captain takes a lot of patience as well. You have a lot of people on there, and you don't always get along with every single client. Most 90%, not more than that, 98% of all mine, great people. But every now and then you get that little off character and makes you go, yeah. How successful your business is going to be, like I said, it's really up to you. Can you run just having a nice clean boat set up well, that's not even half the battle. You got to first off be able to take people out and show them a good time, regardless of if you catch fish or not. Show people a good time. That's what they want to see. But you do have to be able to put fish on the deck too. That's part of it. So, you got to think about those things as well. And you got to be able to put enough time in to really make it worth your money. I mean, really, every season you start off, there's things that people don't think about. Every season, right in the beginning, you're already $5,000 in the hole. Just from slip fee, usually storage, gassing up the boat, maybe a few upgrades in the beginning of the year, getting new line on the reels, getting some new tackle. You're normally $5,000 to $6,000 in the hole, just like that, before you even run a trip. So you got to have a little capital built up as well, so you can have those things in place. Insurance. I'm not trying to turn anybody off on this, but these are things everybody should think about. Insurance, not cheap. Not cheap at all. I know there's other things I'm forgetting as well. Your Charter Boat Association fees, all the other fees that come along with the licensing, registering your boat, all those fees add up. And I'm telling you, before you even put the boat in the water, you're normally $5,000 or $6,000 behind. Ryan Purchase wants to know about a business license. You don't really have to have a business license per se. You have a charter license, you're qualified to take people out on the boat, you have insurance, you're covered. Somebody said something on here about sleep apnea. Is sleep apnea a disqualifier? That's a good question. I do not know the answer to that. It sounds like, or looks like Scott is answering some of that as well. So, anyway, hope I didn't bore you too much there. I wanted to give you a little background on myself. I want to tell you guys and gals how I went about getting my license, and I want to let you know I don't regret it for a second. In fact, they say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. That's exactly how I feel. I love going out there. If you have that same kind of passion and drive, maybe it is for you too. I hope so. Phil Quinn, I got the 6-pack license. I didn't go and get the master's license. You can if you want, but really it's just, you're overdoing it. You don't need to have the master's. I did the 6-pack, the OUPV. How are things coming with my riverboat? It's ordered, Ryan. It's not going to be ready until October, I believe. So it is in the works. I'm looking forward to that, though. Dreamcatcher, how difficult was the chart navigation? Not that hard. I've had chart navigation in the past, so I was already somewhat akin to it. But really, it's not hard. There's plenty of videos on YouTube, and I'll say this as well. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that will help you out. In fact, Mariner's Learning System even has a YouTube channel, and there's instructors on there that will help you out and answer those questions for you. If you can measure and you can use a ruler and you can use a compass, chart navigation is no problem. No problem at all. You'll be fine. Chart navigation on the whole thing, rules of the road was, there's 3 sections. Rules of the road was 30 questions. You can only miss 3 on that one. I got 100% on that one. The second part is general or basic seamanship, like first aid, fires, radios, safety measures. 100 questions on that one, if I remember right, and you could miss up to, I think you could miss up to like 20 some. I think I missed 6 or 7 on that. There's things on there I was just like, whatever. And then the last part, the third one, is navigation, 10 questions, and you have to show your work, of course, on the maps, charts, whatnot. And I think you can miss maybe 2 or 3. I think I missed 1 on that, and the only reason I missed that one is because I read my compass backwards. I thought it was that degree, and it was actually the exact opposite. It was my own stupid fault. Felt so dumb after that. But yeah, I think I missed 1 on that. So you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Yeah, yeah. That's it right there, Phil Quinn. Yeah, even if you've never done it, find a good program. YouTube is a very good help on that. All right, what other questions you guys gals got? We're into this like 40 minutes. I can't believe I yacked along that long. Drink my cold tea. John Sipko, does a 6-pack limit you to a specific size boat? No, it does not. Well, I don't want to speak about something I'm not 100% sure on. I don't think so, but it'd be something you want to look into. But I don't think so. Do the other states? So it's Scott Garb saying, do the other states honor each other's licenses? It's not a state license, Scott. It's a Coast Guard license. So it's a federal license. So it's recognized by the Coast Guard nationally. Yeah. And that's why it's a zero tolerance drug program as well, because marijuana may be illegal in this state and several other states. It's still illegal federally. That means federal program. You can't have, I've had several customers, say, hey, you mind if we light up? And I say, guys, I usually tell everybody at the dock, don't bring it on the boat. I can't have it on the boat. And I've still had people come out there and say, hey, do you mind if we light up? And I said, no, you can't. You lighting up is not worth me losing my captain's license over. So, yeah. Scott just nailed the answer to that question. It limits you to tonnage. That's exactly right, Scott. Thank you. No giveaways coming up anytime soon, Ryan. So I'll say something on the giveaways. Patreon, it's cracked down on the giveaways. I can't do any more giveaways on Patreon, except for that charter kind of giveaway I do. You go to my Patreon page, you'll see what I mean by that. But I can't do like fishing rod giveaways on Patreon anymore, or give you a spin doctor or anything. They'll kick you in the you-know-what if you do that. And YouTube is also somewhat cracking down because it violates sweepstakes policies, which is kind of a gray area, I guess, but we sometimes skirt around that. Jeff Cummings, does the Coast Guard inspect your boat? Yes, they do. You have to have a dry dock inspection every 5 years, which is when the Coast Guard inspector comes on the boat. They check all your gas lines, your tubing, your your motors, your linkage, your exhaust, everything. They check everything. The boat's got to be out of the water. That's why they call it a dry dock. They go through it every 5 years. You got to have that. Then every 2 years, you got to have a dockside inspection. Most of the time, that's done by a DNR. And that's when they come on, they check all your life jackets, your whistles, your flares, your strobes, everything like that, all your safety gear. Can giveaways be done on Discord? Maybe. I don't know, Jason C. It's a good question. Maybe. Andy Mays, you're welcome. No problem. Yep, inspections are absolutely required by the Coast Guard. Yeah, Randy Rashawn, you're saying absolutely right. Don't miss out on your renewal. You got to renew your captain's license every 5 years. You don't have to go through the whole spiel every 5 years. You don't have to do the testing and the online stuff. You don't have to do that. It's just basically a renewal. So make sure you get that done. You don't want to lose it. Leroy, I already talked about ice fishing, but yeah, it's decent ice fishing around here. I'm going to be back out either tomorrow or Tuesday. Dave Ristow, yeah, I can take 6 passengers. It doesn't limit you. You and your first mate do not count towards those 6. I could take 6 paying passengers. Yes. Jay Forty, is it the size of the body of water that makes getting a captain so involved? I'm not sure what you mean there, Jay. Possibly, because there are inshore licenses, offshore licenses, near shore. I forget what the right verbiage is, but yeah, there's different licenses that you have to qualify for. So yeah, I believe I'm answering that correctly. That's interesting, Thin Blue Line. Illinois requires a yearly inspection, and it can be done by another captain. That could get a little sketchy. Eric Nearing, I have no idea why they call it a non-inspected vessel. Most of us around here, we want our customers to know that we are an inspected vessel. It makes them feel better. It makes me feel better. Jeff Russell, limited out on gills in Montcalm County. Man, good for you. Dreamcatcher, is there a time limitation on test completion? 1 year. Excuse me. Once you start your online system like I did, I had to complete it within 1 year. I did mine in 5 weeks, so but I made myself get it done that fast. I wanted to get it done. But yeah, once you start it, you have 1 year. Landon Freeman, what do you run on 10 colors and braid divers for kings? Landon, I run everything on 10 colors, you name it. The only thing I don't run on 10 colored lead core, or really any lead core, are rotators. It's typically a spoon or a plug. I don't run meat rigs or flasher flies on those. Divers, you can run anything you want on a diver. Absolutely. Flasher fly, flasher meat rig, spoon, plug, you name it. Anything you want. Anything you want, my friend. All right, let's check the poll. See where we're at here. What other topics would you like covered on this channel? 55%. Well, we got 124 votes. Thanks, everybody, for voting. How to find a starting location is way out in front. That's a good question. We'll cover that then in a future video. Lure selection is number 2. Equipment and boat maintenance, number 3. And then other. Now, I asked you to please mention that in the chat. What it was, that's at 7%. We'll end that poll now. Excuse me. I got to drink some more cold tea. Let's wrap it up, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I think we had like 190 people at one point. Thanks, everybody. Love talking to you. We'll do this again. Well, next Sunday. No show next Sunday. Super Bowl and going to be busy all weekend. So no show next Sunday. We'll be back the Sunday after. Okay? If you got a dog in the fight for the Super Bowl, good luck to you. Either way, it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a real good game. Philadelphia and Chiefs. My gut feeling's telling me Philly. I don't know why. I could be way wrong, but that's my gut feeling. Anyway, be safe, have fun, get out on the ice, enjoy your time, kiss your kids, kiss your wife, kiss your husband, whatever. We'll see you in a couple weeks.